I think this particular question I have about Germany has been kind of irking my soul for the longest time. And at one point, I think I had a pretty good idea of what the answer might have been, but a lot of things have changed, and I wanted to talk to you guys about it because, we all know at this point, you guys are helping me a lot with my understanding of the culture and really understanding how the language works, how the society works, how the economic system works, and how politics really work over there in Germany. And I'm very curious, and I'm mildly obsessed. Mildly is putting it lightly, but I always wondered over the years, especially now in 2022, is Germany mostly conservative or liberal, right? And I say this for several reasons, right? For the longest time, we all know that Germany was definitely, established pretty much on the CDU. Now, it wasn't established on the CDU, but the CDU was political party that has been pretty much running Germany for a long time, a couple decades almost, and recently after the, recent events of the election and stuff, the party that is now in a position of power is the SPD and the Grüne party. And I think one more, I think it's the FDP. It's the FDP, the SPD, and the Grüne Party. They're all like a coalition together, the traffic light coalition, if you will. And I think that's really cool. But it also lets me know that that party in general is definitely a lot more liberal leaning than conservative, leaning and whatnot. Now, you guys know me personally. I'm not really a huge political person myself, but I think it's very good to know when trying to understand certain cultures and stuff like that and figuring out how to interact, because obviously more conservative views, people's opinions are a bit more, they can be a bit more aggressive-ish. It comes off as aggressive, I feel like. And then for people who are a bit more liberal, it comes off as a bit softer in a lot of areas and maybe a lot more altruistic and in some ways a little too giving and a little too sensitive and stuff. So, taking all those things into consideration, I wanted to ask, how is Germany's current political climate? What do you think mostly? If you were to take all of Germany and put everybody that's liberal and everybody that's conservative in their ways of thinking together, all together, would you say Germany as a whole is more liberal leaning or more conservative leaning? And like I said, over the years, issues like Mary Jane, you know what I'm saying, that green, that was a problem for a long time. I mean, worldwide, that's still kind of an issue, but it's becoming less of a problem because people are realizing how ridiculous it is for that to be a problem in the first place. People are still going to do that. And, in America, it's being legalized everywhere, and I've never seen something legalized that fast in the last 5 years in my entire life. But also, I'm not that old, so that makes sense. And I think there were talks, and that was one of the leading points of the coalition, the traffic light coalition, to legalize that green. You know what I mean? Legalize that green. And, all the young people are like, you know what? I might not normally be into politics like that, but for the right cause, I think you have my vote. So boom, and that makes a lot of sense because that was definitely one of the most intense, running points for a lot of those candidates. And I feel like now there are other issues that both parties, both ways of thinking, I should say, when it comes to political stances and stuff like that, have changed over the years. Women's rights is a huge thing. I feel like back when, in general, like when in a more conservative environment, that's not really something that's focused on as much. I feel like with, more liberal views and stuff like that, I feel like minorities are taken into consideration. Gender issues are definitely taken more into consideration for sure. And things like climate change and planetary health issues as well are definitely taken more into consideration. But with the conservative way of thinking politically, I feel like it's mainly economy, business, money issues, infrastructure, things of that nature, and not so much the people in general. And if it is about the people, it's about securing your own personal assets and making sure that you're protected and that people don't get a slice of your pie without your consent. You know what I mean? Like your hard-earned money and stuff like that is not going to, in what a lot of people think is a lost cause or whatnot. That people have the option to do said thing. So it really, like, I think after this last election, it became more and more apparent to me that maybe Germany is more liberal, and it makes a lot of sense. In fact, I feel like what has a lot to do with that is not just recent events in Germany itself, but I feel like the internet in general is kind of like more liberal leaning. And I feel like that has to do with the people who own the big media platforms and stuff. A lot of people who own, the people who own Facebook, the people who own YouTube, Twitch, and things of that nature, most of them, I mean, all of them are pretty much liberal leaning. So I feel like that has an influence on, guidelines as far as what you can and can't say on platforms. And I guess in turn, it's socially very, very acceptable. So it makes a lot of sense that not only Germany, but a lot of societies are leaning more in the liberal direction. Not to say that conservative is like, something of the past, or not as many people are conservative, but I feel like from what I've seen recently in the political atmosphere, at least from the American side, the American perspective, and when you look at the online climate, it seems like people who are conservative are pretty much bashed a lot, because the ideas and beliefs of a lot of people with conservative, political, views and stuff like that are pretty controversial in a lot of, hot takes. Like I said, I'm not personally politically involved at all. I mean, I think it'd be interesting because I think the way you approach people on different issues is very interesting when you understand the foundation of which that culture is. Now, obviously, you can't totally blanket one culture under one thing, right? But it's like, I'll put it this way: if America is predominantly liberal and you come from a country that is predominantly conservative, you have to have a very good idea of what a liberal mindset is. So if you want to establish a friendship with someone from a different culture, or you want to successfully communicate with a different culture, you can get a good understanding of that before you go over there, and you have a strong conflict because you didn't take the time to learn. So I'm trying to get an idea of that myself. Also, I guess a second question I could ask is, do you feel like the younger generation, people that are like 25 and under are politically involved as much as they were back in the day, 2, 3, 4 decades ago? Do you think that the younger generation is as politically involved in voting and stuff as you think they should be? Because I feel like, at least from the American perspective, I feel like so many people have pretty much tuned out of being involved in politics altogether, which is how you wind up with the candidates that we wind up with. Complete wild options, candidates that you would have never ever guessed that we would have ever had to choose from, because people simply, didn't vote, which is understandable. I mean, in America, we only have two parties that dominate every time. So it pretty much discourages and almost throws out a lot of people's political beliefs and thoughts and ways of thinking. So I guess my two questions are: how conservative is Germany, if at all? I mean, I'm pretty sure it is, because like I said, the CDU was known for being very conservative, but very, accepting, of course, but very conservative. And with this new traffic light coalition, maybe it's a lot more liberal leaning, and the whole body of Germany is very very much more liberal leaning. That's just my opinion. I don't know. That it could be very inaccurate. From what I've heard personally, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, I heard East Germany is far more conservative than West Germany, and it could have been because of how that atmosphere was, during before the Berlin Wall, that fell and stuff like that. That could be a thing. I don't know. Like I said, I'm just giving you my ideas, my thoughts, and this is why I wanted to have a discussion with you guys, so we can have a kind of an eye-opening thing between us to see what's actually going down. Let me know in the comments down below. I'd love to know your thoughts and feelings and all this, and I hope to do a follow-up video on your answers. But that's pretty much it. I think it's pretty interesting how politics have evolved. And I feel like the internet has a strong influence over that. And I feel like, people are a lot more expressive online. And because of that, there's a lot more backlash for certain beliefs over others. And if you agree with that perspective, let me know. But that's pretty much it. Let me know what you think. Peace.